Active portfolio management seeks to generate returns that exceed those of a designated benchmark through superior asset allocation and security selection decisions. The value added by active management is measured by active return, defined as the difference between the return of the actively managed portfolio and the return of its benchmark. Active return may be evaluated on an ex-ante basis using expected returns or on an ex-post basis using realized returns. An effective benchmark should accurately represent the manager's investment universe, be replicable at low cost, and provide transparent weights and returns. These characteristics ensure meaningful performance evaluation and facilitate comparisons between active and passive investment strategies. A key concept in measuring active management performance is the active weight assigned to each security. Active weight is calculated as the difference between a security's portfolio weight and its benchmark weight. Securities that are overweight have positive active weights, while underweight securities have negative active weights. Importantly, active weights across the portfolio must sum to zero because every overweight position must be offset by an underweight position elsewhere. Active return is generated when active weights are positively associated with subsequent security performance. Managers create value by correctly identifying securities expected to outperform and allocating larger weights to them relative to the benchmark. Active return can be decomposed into two distinct sources: asset allocation return and security selection return. Asset allocation return arises when managers deviate from benchmark asset class weights, such as overweighting equities relative to bonds. Security selection return results from choosing securities within an asset class that outperform comparable benchmark constituents. This decomposition helps investors understand whether manager skill originates primarily from broad allocation decisions or from identifying individual securities with superior return prospects. By separating these components, analysts can more accurately evaluate investment processes and determine the consistency and sustainability of a manager's value-added capabilities. The Sharpe ratio and information ratio are two important measures of risk-adjusted performance, but they assess different dimensions of investment success. The Sharpe ratio measures excess return above the risk-free rate per unit of total portfolio risk, making it appropriate for evaluating overall portfolio efficiency. In contrast, the information ratio measures active return relative to benchmark tracking risk, focusing specifically on the effectiveness of active management decisions. While the Sharpe ratio uses total return volatility as the denominator, the information ratio uses the standard deviation of active returns. Consequently, the information ratio provides a more direct assessment of a manager's ability to consistently outperform a benchmark. The information ratio can be evaluated on either an ex-ante or ex-post basis. Ex-ante information ratios rely on expected active returns and expected active risk, making them useful for portfolio construction and manager selection. Ex-post information ratios are calculated using realized performance and serve as valuable tools for evaluating historical results. A manager with a higher information ratio generates more active return per unit of benchmark relative risk and is generally considered more skilled. Unlike the Sharpe ratio, the information ratio is sensitive to portfolio cash allocations and leverage because active return is measured relative to a benchmark rather than a risk-free asset. This distinction makes the information ratio especially relevant in active management contexts. The information ratio also plays a central role in portfolio optimization and manager selection. Portfolio theory suggests that investors should choose the active manager with the highest information ratio because such a portfolio will produce the highest improvement in overall risk-adjusted performance. Once the optimal active portfolio is identified, investors can adjust their desired level of active risk by combining the active portfolio with its benchmark. Importantly, changing the proportion invested in the benchmark reduces both active return and active risk proportionately, leaving the information ratio unchanged. Therefore, the information ratio serves as a universal measure of active management quality regardless of an investor's specific risk tolerance or investment objectives.